Do a fake smile. Oh.
Hello and welcome to the Anatomy of Marriage podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
Good morning. My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and today is day 4 of the AOM Q&A 100.
100 days of Q's and A's.
That's right.
That's what it's titled.
There we go.
If you're new here, welcome. We have over 200 shows, 100 of which are a totally different format than this style. We've got long format. We've got high production music episodes, all sorts of things. So check out all of our episodes, not just the most recent ones.
That's right. And we do a couple of different things. We do a prayer and we do a past gratitude, and then we jump into Q&A and a review of the day. Before we jump into everything and get to the meat, this show is brought to you by audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage. Go to that URL and get your free audiobook, and you will love it. You will absolutely love it. All right, so let's pray. Do you want to pray?
And we encourage you to do these things with your partner too. Pray and talk about the things to talk about and share gratitude. I will pray.
All right, go for it.
God, thank you so much for this day. Help us to just bring joy and blessings into the world. Help us celebrate the life that we have and to live it to the fullest. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for, let's see, what did you do yesterday? You continue to make the house super nice. I was selling stuff at our house yesterday while you were doing work here, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for making excellent pho, or however you say it.
Pho.
And people correct me and they say it different each time. So thank you, though, because you made it 2 nights ago. It's flipping fantastic.
I'm the pho, bruh.
Oh, there it is.
There you go, Ken. Hope you like that one.
So thank you for that.
All right, directly into Q&A. You want to read the first one?
Go into the review of the day.
Okay, first, I think we read this one time, but we're going to read it again. It was on a long time ago. So, hands down, 5 stars. My husband and I love this podcast. So many great takeaways from each episode. So many useful things that people need to know about marriage. I love the vulnerability of Seth and Melanie to share their marriage with others, to grow and normalize what marriage is really like. I look forward to listening to each new episode that comes out. Thank you.
If we've shared it already, it was worth sharing again because it was good.
That's right. That's a good one. Okay.
No, Chucky.
Still
just J/K, Chucks.
Still the Chucksters. Okay.
Okay. Question number one.
Oh, you got it? I got a fuzz.
Okay. So, question number 1 says, you talk about marriage not being 100-100, which is a thing we talked about in an episode before. So how do you deal with only getting 10, 20, or 30% from your husband when you feel like you are constantly the one having to give so much more? It's exhausting. I get your point of view. The percentages really do fluctuate. But what about the partner who is always giving more than the other? So thank you for the question.
Does your partner
that was
actually
me.
Okay.
So that's a great question. And one of the things I want to talk about is that idea of people say like a marriage is 100-100. But I think the whole of a marriage is 100. And partners give either, 50%, or if it's fluctuating, I might give 30 and Seth might give 70. I might give 20 and he might give 80, right? And the goal is to get to 50-50, where you're both contributing equally as much all the time. But what often happens is there's like an overachiever and an underachiever.
Right.
And then it kind of gets more and more that way as the marriage progresses, like distance or pursuer almost dynamic thing. But so what are your thoughts about that? Like talking about she is saying, my husband does not give as much as I give.
Yeah.
How do I make him give more? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a hard question. It makes me think of what we've talked about in the past about this one great book. It's called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And he says that we individually mostly only give 60% of ourselves. We think our 60 is our 100, right? But there's actually 40% left in the tank, but we just think that we
maxed
don't have
out
that.
at 60%, yeah.
So I would ask myself, what does he believe that he's giving? Is he thinking that he's just tapping out at 100 and he's always drained? he may be. I don't know. I would like to know what that looks like. Is this about housework? Is it about yard work? Is it about kids' responsibilities? Is it about making money outside of the home? What percentages are you talking about? And it's hard because we can't make somebody else do something. Like we get married, we think we can. Oh, I can change my spouse. I can make Melanie do this and do this. I can argue and fuss at her and stuff, but if she doesn't want to change, then she's not going to change. So I would ask a bunch of clarifying questions around this, and you can't make your husband change. Like you can't make me change just by fussing and nagging or doing whatever, right? I have to change because I want to.
But
So-
I do want to say though,
Uh-huh.
this is something that takes a lot of really intentional thought about.
Right.
Because if I were to judge, oh well, I'm doing 90% of the work and Seth is doing 10% of the work in any given area of our relationship, there are things that matter to me that Seth doesn't give a crap about, and he's never going to give a crap about. And if I just sit there and go, you need to care about this, you need to care about this, you need to care about this, he's going to hate it.
Right.
We've done that before. He and I have literally gone around that mountain a billion times. And it takes me actually realizing, oh, Seth will literally never care about like the gross spit that he leaves in of toothpaste in the sink, or putting his shoes right in the entryway. He will never care about that, or think that it's bad, or think that it's matters, right? And so me perpetually being like, you don't do the 90% that you're supposed to do.
Right.
He's never going to do it. And I am only spinning my wheels and making it worse and making him feel worse.
So are
for
you
trying
saying,
to make him do that
are you
work.
saying accept that I leave my shoes there and then that's it? Or, because I don't think that's
no.
helpful.
I'm saying that you need to analyze, like literally pick apart all the things you're saying that your partner doesn't do for you or do as much as you do, and then figure out how much it matters to that partner. Like scale it, put it to like, okay, Seth cares 10% about the shoes. He cares 90% about food in the fridge. He cares 1% about a clean sink. And then say, okay, I need help with these areas, but never expect him to care the way that you care about those things. Because when I read that email, I get what she's saying and I get what she's feeling, and there's a lot to it, and obviously we don't know the whole story, but oftentimes we are expecting that our partner gives a crap.
Right, and we're internalizing things because Seth doesn't care about the shoes, he must not care about me. If he did care about me, he would put the shoes away.
He'd put the shoes away, yeah.
And that's just literally, I'm thinking about 18 million other things, right? So I would look at how like we're internalizing things, and then also use the clearing structure around that, because maybe I don't know that it hurts Melanie's feelings, but her telling me you always leave your shoes there, that doesn't do anything for me. That just puts me on the defense, right? Remember, criticism and sarcasm only brings defense. So if you're saying something to me with those two modes, I guess I'm just going to defend myself and I'm not going to listen to what you're saying. So use the clearing structure.
What happened?
What happened?
You unplugged your headphones.
That disappears or makes gone a lot of confusion. So definitely use that.
Yeah, but I would say too, like, you can't, sometimes you just can't let that stuff hurt your feelings. Sounds stupid, but I wish someone had told me that 100 years ago. Let's see.
Okay. Oh my goodness, this is exactly how I feel. It makes me feel like my partner never thinks about me.
Yeah. So here's a funny thought about that is that sometimes Seth is doing the thing he actually really thinks I would love for him to do, and I like zero care about it.
Right.
So we've had conversations about, does this thing matter to you that I'm spending my time doing or not? Man, that clarifies a lot.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Next question.
Question number 2. I've always, so I think this is from a wife, female. I've always struggled with sex in our marriage. My husband is the adventurous one. He wants to try different things and be weird. I don't. I want our bed, lights off, same thing every time. But that's when we do have sex. I don't have a high sex drive. My husband does. Does this mean I should force myself to want to have sex more often? I can tell he is bothered that I never initiate. We will go 3 to 4 weeks without sex and doesn't bother me. Do I just force myself to do it just to please him? Is that wrong? Do I force myself to try things he wants? Do I put myself out of my comfort zone? I am so confused and feel like I have no one that I can ask this to. He has a history of pornography and I'm kind of scared I'll lose him to that. Okay, so there's a bunch of things here, right?
Yeah.
So let's just start with the idea of forcing yourself to do something. And we talk about in a couple of sex and intimacy series, and other times we talk about sex and intimacy, we talk about the idea of connection and pleasure, right? And if we're trying to like force, so okay, say we sit down at a dinner, right? And you're like, we're having everything broccoli. Fried broccoli,
Eat all the broccoli.
Sauteed broccoli, and I'm like, not again, please. Not broccoli, right? And just like have no connection, no pleasure to it. Then I'm not going to like that dinner, right? I'm not going to like anything about it. And especially if I'm going into like, oh, we're having broccoli for the second time this week. Okay, this is terrible. There's no connection. There's no pleasure in that, right? So I think having a real conversation around that, like, Melanie, I know that you like broccoli, but it is abhorrent to me. I cannot eat broccoli again, right? So what can we do to, okay, well, let's have something different. How do you find connection and pleasure? How do you like food? How do you, I don't know, does this make sense?
Sure,
This
but
example?
I do think it needs to start up a few steps back.
Okay.
If the person who sent in the question, thank you for sending it in. If you have not listened to all of our sex and intimacy episodes, please do. So go to anatomyofmarriage.com and search in the little search bar sex and intimacy, they'll all be categorized in one spot for you. There's
Right.
something like 18 episodes all about sex and intimacy. So Seth is referring to Dr. Tina Shermer Sellers, who talked about the idea of sex not just being intercourse, but being connection and pleasure.
Right.
In this culture, we think of sex only as intercourse. We do not think of it as connection and pleasure. We think of it sort of through the lens of pornography, which is not great, which is a lot of what you're talking about. You're talking about do I just get through it? Is it blah? Is it this?
Right.
And I want to address, though, so first, listen to all the episodes. The other thing I wanted to address, though, was the idea of I don't like sex. It's not good. I just want it the same. I just want to get it done with, like that kind of mindset.
Uh-huh.
That tells me, and that's very similar to how I used to be. So that tells me that you haven't discovered for yourself what type and the kind of sex that you actually really enjoy. And so this is going to sound super weird. I know I've said it before, though. When I started doing that in our marriage and trying to figure out, like, what sex actually do I want? What do I enjoy? What do I not? And this was just sort of like the baby steps of having better sex and having better intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want relaxation sex. That's what I want. I want sex that is like calming and warm, makes me feel like I'm in a bath, makes me feel like I, had a glass of, like, it makes me feel like I've had a glass of wine. You know what I mean? Like it's like dark chocolate, red wine, bubble bath sex. I don't mean I want those things. I want my sex to feel like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that was the sort of starting point for me to kind of discover my own sexual self in a holistic way, not a pornographic way, not an objectification way, in a holistic, relational,
sensual,
intimate,
connecting
and pleasurable way. Right? So that's the second part of what I'm hearing, is that first, go listen to the episodes. Second, find the kind of sex you actually want. Right? I need to have the bed be hot. I mean, physically warm. Like, I put a bed buddy, like a heated pad in my bed. Like, I have to do those things.
Again with the bed buddy.
Otherwise, I don't enjoy it. And so I just wanted to kind of invite that to you. The second thing was, your language is a lot like mine. I don't want anything weird. That's how I talk, right? You don't want weird sex, you want normal sex. Well, that's just
what
shows
is
me
your
that
idea
you're...
what is your idea of weird? I wanted to say thank you for kind of going backwards, because I jumped like forwards in this, and you're bringing a ton of richness that I didn't see. So good job, for real.
You're welcome. But I would just say too, like, go to anatomyofmarriage.com, download the season 1 audio workbook and workbook, the free PDF, fillable PDF. There's a whole section on sex and intimacy that helps address your mindset around sex and intimacy. Like, do you think it's gross? Were you raised in a home that was shaming? Like, these are all things that you really need to be having conversations about that will help you kind of change your brain. And no, you do not just do what your partner wants you to do and get through it. That's not okay. And trust me, your partner doesn't want you to do that either.
Exactly. That's not going to be sustainable. That's not going to be fulfilling for you, for sure.
No.
Or fulfilling for him. And just the idea of getting through it. I think in this culture, in this culture, we think a lot about, okay, if I just white knuckle this and get through it, that's how I've like lived my life forever. I'm like, I cannot do that anymore just because I can, just because I have the resources, just because I'm able to. White knuckling things does not work, and it's not fun.
You also don't have to do that.
You don't have to do that. There was one comment that said, right outside the comfort zone is where the magic happens, and
that's the zone of proximal development. That's what that's called.
You're super smart.
Comfort zone.
Getting out of the comfort zone is exactly where the magic happens or whatever. I have found that anytime that I've gotten out of my comfort zone, yeah, sure, it's hard, it's getting out of your comfort zone, but on the other side of that, it's worth it, it's connecting. And I'm not just talking about sex, I'm talking about public speaking or doing what you don't think you can do.
Getting outside of your comfort zone in this particular conversation would mean for you and your husband to talk about this.
Right.
That
to have
means,
a long conversation.
Yeah, like
about
using the clearing structures, writing down. I mean, and it's all in the workbook. So things I do like, things I don't like. Touch me here, don't touch me there. And that's, you need to create a new foundation for your sex and intimacy in your marriage. What I'm hearing you say is we don't have a solid foundation. We don't have good communication about it. We don't like the same things. We don't want the same things. You'll never like them and want them and have that foundation if you don't start over and build that foundation.
Right.
Like you have to just kind of knock down what's currently there and start building that foundation. And that process sounds terrifying.
Yes.
But you can do it. It's in the zone of proximal development. All of the tools are there for you for free. And you've got 18 episodes of our podcast that you can listen to with sex therapists and experts in this field, right? And so start those conversations really slowly, knowing that you're going to feel uncomfortable, but also knowing that the reward is one day, woman, you will be having sex that you cannot believe. Right. And you will not believe that you enjoy it so much, that you actually want it, that it feels so good. That, I mean, it's a skill. It is a skill.
So as Melanie was saying in the sex therapy episodes that we did, let our vulnerability normalize and kind of hold your hand through that comfort zone,
and be the start
helping you to get out of your comfort zone, because it is scary. Trust me, we know. And it's not like, oh, okay, we did something, we talked about it, and now we're great. No, it's a continual process that evolves, that changes, that moves here and takes you here that you didn't know, or like, oh, this is scary again. But that's just the process.
And I would say, so if this is something that you are saying, yes, I want to talk to my husband about this. Yes, I want to change this in our relationship. What I would suggest is you bring it up to your husband like this. Hey, sweetheart, I love you so much. I want to be more intentional around our intimacy and connect with you more. You do not say, I don't like how we have sex.
Right.
You don't do that. The second thing you do is you say, I have these XYZ episodes I want us to listen to together. We don't need to be physically in the same space, but we can listen to them. Like, let's say on day 1, we listen to episode 7, and you're going to work and I'm at home, or whatever that looks like. And then we come back together that night and we talk about what we heard that day.
Right.
We talk about, we take notes. We say, wow, Seth talked about being nervous about initiating sex, and Melanie talked about how he never does foreplay, and they did this. Then you have a conversation about what we had a conversation about. And then you just start there. And then the next day you do the same thing, right? You listen to the next episode, you talk about it together. You use our vulnerability as a jumping off point, a way to start your conversations around how to heal this and build new foundations.
Right.
It's all there. I'm so excited for you.
I think that's all I was going to say. So let's see. Aaron says, it's true. That series has changed a lot for my mindset. Awesome.
Yay.
And let's see. What else?
Let's see. Such a tough situation and so much to balance. Staying true to your own wants and desires in your own body versus being the thing that your husband wants. That is really hard, yeah. Why does this say that? I don't understand it.
Okay, so that's boring stuff. We don't have to figure that out. So, okay, you guys, it's about 16 minutes in. We hope this has been helpful for you. Keep those questions coming. We're going to continue to answer them to the best of our ability. I love it how the people are commenting on both Facebook Live and Instagram Live. And I encourage you to join the Anatomy of Marriage Facebook groups. There's men's groups, there's women's groups, and then there's an open group. And you guys are having awesome conversations over there, and I just thank you so much for it. So remember to go rate and review the show. Anything else, Mel?
Just go to audibletrial.com/anatomy of marriage and get a free audiobook on us. If you're not doing it, you're losing out, my friends. All right. Audiobooks are like gold.
They are.
So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. And rate and review the podcast on iTunes. I don't know if you said that already.
I did, yeah.
Share it with your friends.
All right.
Have a lovely day.
All right. Bye.
See you later.
See you.
I wonder if that means